Well, folks, Vladimir Putin will have to get used to seeing blue and yellow flags. The Ukrainian flag is now flying back over Kherson, and Canada will stand with Ukraine until every city of the country are able to fly the Ukrainian flag again. Et donc, Vladimir Poutine devra s'habituer à voir des drapeaux bleus et jaunes. Parce que le drapeau ukrainien flotte maintenant à nouveau au-dessus de Kherson et le Canada sera aux côtés des Ukrainiens tant et si longtemps, bien entendu, que tous les drapeaux ukrainiens flottent au-dessus du pays. Today we announced $500 million of additional military support to Ukraine. We also announce important Magnitsky-like sanctions against those who launch a witch hunt against Vladimir Kara-Murza. Vladimir Kara-Murza is an important Russian dissident that criticized the war in Ukraine back in spring and was afterwards jailed because of his comments. I met with Bill Browder and Kara-Murza's wife a month ago in Ottawa, and they have been advocating for a long time for these sanctions. We will be making sure that the 23 individuals' sanctions are also sanctions by other countries, including the U.S. and the EU, and I promised Kara-Murza's wife that Canada would be leading on this very issue. So that's why it's an important announcement we're making today. Vous avez entendu un peu plus tôt la nouvelle. Nous annonçons 500 millions d'aides militaires de plus pour soutenir l'Ukraine. Nous annonçons aussi d'importantes sanctions de type Magnitsky à l'encontre de ceux et celles qui ont lancé une chasse aux sorcières contre Kara-Murza. Vladimir Kara-Murza est ce dissident russe qui a critiqué la guerre en Ukraine printemps dernier et qui a été par la suite emprisonné pour ses propos. J'ai rencontré Bill Browder et la femme de Kara-Murza il y a environ un mois. Je leur ai promis à l'époque que non seulement nous allions imposer ces sanctions, mais aussi que nous allions travailler à convaincre les Américains et les Européens à faire de même. Et donc, le Canada va démontrer du leadership sur cette question. C'est important que nous continuions à isoler la Russie d'un point de vue diplomatique, d'un point de vue économique et d'un point de vue politique. Alors, my colleague and I are ready to take your questions.
On the $500 million, how long is it going to take the money to flow? What's it going to buy, and where's this equipment going to come from?
So I've already mentioned that it will be military support. Our goal is to make sure that the troops in Ukraine on the ground have access to additional military support soon, and we'll have more details to provide in the coming days and weeks. And I know my colleague, Minister Anand, is working on this issue.
And can you explain how the sanctions are going to work then? They're Magnitsky type.
Yeah.
What will this allow you to do?
So what we're doing is we're using the SEMA legislation, but what we're doing is we're imposing sanctions based on human rights violations, which is really rarely done. And that's exactly what Bill Browder was asking us to do. And we decided to basically do it because it's the right thing to do.
Madame Joly, j'aimerais savoir si vous êtes prête à signer, ou si le Canada en fait est prêt à signer un communiqué final à la fin du G20 si le nom de la Russie apparaît dessus. Est-ce que vous êtes prêt à signer un communiqué final conjoint avec la Russie si on enlève peut-être les questions ukrainiennes, chaîne d'approvisionnement par exemple, d'autres enjeux, ou est-ce que vous allez vous retirer d'un communiqué final?
Mais premièrement, les négociations en cours, donc on va laisser les directeurs politiques faire leur boulot. Ce que je peux vous dire par ailleurs, c'est que la question de l'Ukraine, elle est au cœur de notre politique étrangère. On la soulève à tous les forums. Nous le faisons encore au G20 et nous le faisons de concert avec nos alliés, certainement avec les autres pays du G7.
Donc, le Canada pourrait signer un communiqué conjointement avec la Russie?
Il est très important que nous continuons à, comme je disais, isoler politiquement, diplomatiquement, économiquement la Russie et en même temps que la question de l'Ukraine soit au cœur des conversations que nous avons ici au G20.
Mais est-ce que vous allez signer ou pas un communiqué si la Russie le signe aussi?
Comme je vous ai dit, le plus important, c'est qu'on laisse les négociateurs faire leur travail, mais puisque le conflit en Ukraine a un impact international et a un impact particulièrement sur la question de l'inflation. Le G20 est un forum où les discussions ont cours sur des enjeux économiques. Alors, les questions de sécurité et ce qui se passe en Ukraine ont un impact direct sur l'économie. Alors, c'est évident qu'il faut en parler.
Next question. The Indonesians, there's reports that the Indonesians have approached a number of Western countries, including Canada, to put a little water in their wine when it comes to approaching taking towards Russia in a bid to get a key to side. Have the Indonesians approached Canada and said, we need you to soften your stance on Russia?
I don't think any country would say that to Canada. We've been very principled in our approach towards the Ukrainian conflict. What I can tell you, though, is Indonesia is between a rock and a hard place. I was here back in May dealing with the Indonesian foreign minister and also with the president to find ways for Indonesia to be able to deal with this very important issue, which is the war in Ukraine and its impact on the global economy. So Canada's work is always to make sure that we can bring countries along, that we can find ways to address even difficult issues, and that's why we've been having many ongoing conversations with Indonesia.
There's been some rumblings around the G20 since we've been here that some of the Western countries are considering walking out of Russia's space. Is that something?
We are always coordinating with our allies on this very issue, and I'm in contact with many of my American and European colleagues.
On China, the Australians met with Chinese officials yesterday at ASEAN. Biden is meeting with Xi right now. The Australians have a meeting tomorrow with Xi, and so do the French. So is Canada purposely not meeting with Chinese officials or representatives, or are we being frozen out from the conversations?
Well, I was back in July here in Bali for the G20 foreign minister meeting, and I had a very important conversation with my Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi. And we've been engaging with China on the very important issue of biodiversity, because in less than a month there will be a conference held in Canada, in Montreal, on biodiversity that will be under China's presidency. And so it is important for Canada to continue to have these open channels with China, but at the same time, our stance is clear. I've made an important speech last week, and this is how we will deal with China going forward.
Well, respectfully, that was then and this is now. So has Canada reached out to China to have a meeting, or are they not interested in meeting with Canada at all?
Of course, I'll have discussions with my counterpart as I'll be sitting next to him throughout this G20.
Est-ce
That's
que
not
le
the same as a
Canada...
bilateral summit, though, or a meeting, or a pull aside.
Conversations are always very important, and trust me, just dealing with my American counterpart also, Blinken, this is how we do a lot of the diplomacy. Meanwhile, I'll be reaching out to my American counterpart in a similar fashion.
Juste en français là-dessus, est-ce que le Canada a demandé une rencontre entre M. Trudeau et Xi Jinping?
Comme je vous ai dit, au mois de juillet dernier, j'étais ici, à Bali.
M. Trudeau, est-ce qu'on a demandé une rencontre avec M.
Au mois de juillet, j'étais ici et j'ai eu une rencontre bilatérale avec mon collègue chinois. Et nous avons parlé de plusieurs enjeux, incluant la conférence très importante qui aura lieu à Montréal dans moins d'un mois sur la biodiversité, conférence qui va être sous la présidence chinoise. Alors, nous allons continuer à avoir ces conversations. Maintenant, j'ai énoncé la position du Canada il y a à peine une semaine sur notre relation avec la Chine, et nous allons continuer à suivre cette approche qui est une approche qui est, comment je pourrais dire, clairement formulée et qui a été communiquée à la Chine directement.
But that's why we're asking that question, is that you said China's danger to global stability, and we're asking, are we intending to meet with the Premier, and you're not answering the question. Have we asked to meet with the Premier Xi?
Our goal is always to make sure that we have a dialogue, even on difficult issues. I'll continue to have conversations with my Chinese counterparts, and we'll make sure also that many of our colleagues, particularly the Minister of Environment, does so. I've presented our very principled approach on China recently, and it has been communicated to the Chinese Foreign Ministry.
Did we ask to meet
Last
with Xi?
question.
That's the main question we're asking. Did we ask to meet with Xi?
We always engage with many countries, and as I mentioned,
Did you
I
tell Joe
do you
Biden?
not
Did you tell
know?
Joe Biden to tell anything to President Xi Jinping, since you won't tell us whether or not you want to meet with him? Like, did you ask the Americans to slip them a message for us?
Well, you know, folks, we've presented a very important Indo-Pacific strategy, I made an important speech a week ago, and at the same time we're unveiling this Indo-Pacific strategy as this,
that have to do with meeting
can I
with
just
Jinping?
please finish my, yes, thank you. So, and at the same time, I had conversation with Tony Blinken at ASEAN. We met with President Biden also. I was just in Germany at the G7. Obviously, we spoke about China. Obviously, we shared our experiences and our views on China, and we'll continue to do so. And the G7 is now this coordination group where we talk about many issues, particularly the China issue.
Mais est-ce qu'il faut déduire, quand vous parlez de
you.
votre stratégie, de votre discours, est-ce que c'est donc déduire que vous n'êtes pas intéressé à lui parler à Xi Jinping au final? C'est un peu là, vous avez durci le ton quand même.
Je vais toujours continuer à parler avec mes homologues chinois. Merci.